Hello friends, welcome to my channel and welcome to the second tutorial of the Java programming, and let's get started. Before getting into the topic, if you are new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe and press the bell button so that you will get the latest updates about my channel. So in this video we are going to discuss about the object-oriented programming, or we can simply say it as OOPs or OOP concept. Now we are going to discuss about the OOP concepts in Java. Whereas OOP concept is not only based on Java. Nowadays the modern languages, almost all languages are based on object orientation when applying to higher levels of needs in the organizations as in any areas of information technology area. So it is so important and so improving technology as well. So let's see how to understand this kind of technology known as OOP or object-oriented programming. And first we need to know about this: what is a OOP or what is object-oriented programming. That is what I have written here. OOP stands for object-oriented programming, as I told earlier. And what is object-oriented programming? As the name suggests, we can say it as object-oriented programming refers to the languages that uses objects in programming. It is simple to say that it uses objects in programming, and that is actually meaning of that. But in comes to programming part, it's not just cannot say it as an object. There are a little bit more complication in that, and we will discuss about that complications while starting programming part. And I will start the programming part from next week. And let's get into OOPS concept again. And OOP is one of the programming paradigm or design pattern for the purpose of programming. Yeah, there are several other programming paradigms like the procedural, structural, functional, and object-oriented is also one of the programming paradigm and one of the popular programming paradigms that modern programming languages are using. So some of the object-oriented languages are C++, of course Java, Python, C Sharp, Ruby, etc. JavaScript is also a object-oriented programming, and is known to be object-oriented programming. It's not fully object-oriented, but still it has some features of object-oriented. That is why all these languages are known to be object-oriented languages. Whereas in case of Java, Java is a completely object-oriented programming. We need to know this difference when compared to another language. So these are the basic knowledge about the OOPs. A basic definition about the OOPs when someone asks to us. And basically these kind of questions will be asked by many interviewers when someone goes for an interview for a particular organization. And OOPS is a must concept when we include Java in our resume. Not only Java, when we included these kind of programming languages in our resume. So we must be aware of these kind of technologies. So next is characteristics of OOP. So these are the important OOP characteristics, or we can say these are the core concepts of OOP. Classes and object are the core. It's a building block, basic building block of object-oriented programming. And Java is fully object-oriented, and Java will be fully based on the classes and objects as well. And for these four concepts are the core concepts for any object-oriented programming. That is abstraction, polymorphism, inheritance, as well as encapsulation. So just have an eye on this picture and just remember these concepts until the end of the video, because it is important to carry out this session. So first thing we are describing about is the class. So what is a class? What is a class in Java? Or what is a class in OOPS? So class is basically a definition, description, or even we can say it as a blueprint So what it means? It means that class is a thing that defines ideas for a particular thing what we are creating. That is what it means, because class is just a description of what we are creating. Uh, Example, we are creating class college, car, restaurant. We may create a different class, kinds of class with different names, and this the class is to define what we need to do, just an idea of what we are going to do, or just a description. That what we include in this class, what that was the class includes in case of hook concepts, as well as in Java. So that is why it is known as a user-defined blueprint or prototype from which objects are created. So from this class, we will create the objects, and we will see later. So what does a class define, or what does a class describe actually? So when we consider a class, or when we take into account about the class, a class will define the that particular identity. Here the identity means the name of the class. Here the name, here I am showing example, like we are having a name dog, which is a class name, class dog, and that dog has a particular attributes, and class will be defining these two things, that is the attributes as well as behaviors. So when considering a dog will have the attributes or properties to breed, as well as it has an age, and dog will have a particular color. And each type of dog will have each color, right? So it will be like this breed. There are many other properties. I am considering these three properties for the time being. So it is how it works. So that you can understand how the class, or what the class describes actually. So the attributes are breed, age, color, and another thing that class defines is a behavior. Hmm. So behaviors here I have described it is bark, sleep, eat, and there are many other behavior as well. For time being, I am just showing these three. So this is how, or this is the thing. These are things what a class actually define in any program. When we define a class, we can see these kind of things. Every class defines a particular attribute for what we are defining, or what we are giving an idea or blueprint. So I am showing this as a in case of programming. So the above example is in case of a general for general sake of understanding. I have told you in case of these attributes and behaviors, but in case of programming, but when it comes into object-oriented programming, in case of all the other languages, it works like this. In case of Java, also it works like this. Here the class name we can see here dog as a class name, and it is mentioned here too. And breed, size, age, color, which are the properties what I have shown in this picture. And here also breed, size, age, color as considered as a data members, or we can say it as a properties in case of programming. So that is how it differs from the general way of defining a class, as well as defining a class in a programming manner. So next thing is defining a behavior. So in case of programming, behavior is a method or function in Java which will define the properties what a dog has. So this is how actually a class works. A class defines anything when we start to write a program in Java. So the basic idea is this: a class will have a class name, class will have the properties or data members or attributes, as well as it will have particular functions which will define the attributes of that class. So this is how a class works, and this is how the class describes that particular idea. So next, the thing is an important thing in object-oriented programming, because it is known as an object. Because object-oriented programming is mostly based on objects. That is why it is most important in this hook concept. So we can define object as a basic unit of object-oriented programming and represents the real-life entities. So object can be any entity or any object or any real-life entities. We can make applications of programs of any real life examples or real life problems using this Java concepts or hook concepts. That is why we can say object can be any entities. So in case of above example, we can see dog. It's a dog is a class and it has properties, and it has methods to define these properties. But we cannot able to specify, or it doesn't know what is its size or what is its age, what is its color. It just define it as a size, age, color. Because I have told earlier that class is just a blueprint or just to define things what we need to define. That's about the class. But in order to define properly the entire definition, we need to use object. There comes the role of object. That is why we are saying it as object-oriented programming, because the class will just give the idea materials that we want to create a thing, and using this object we will inject a life, or we will create the actual product that we want to execute. That is how this object-oriented programming works. So that is why I have written here object is created from the class, because without class we cannot use, there is no use of object, because the class defines idea. For that idea we need a object or like a key. We need to implement these class ideas with this object, and for multiple ideas it will have multiple objects as well. A class can not only even contain single object, but it can also contain multiple objects as well. So this is the basic idea about the object. So I will show one more example about this classes and objects. Is that consider a blueprint of a house. Consider a new house to be built, and first thing we do is draw a blueprint with the engineer, and the blueprint looks like this. So we can say it as a class. This blueprint can be considered as a class, because we need to build a house, whereas we just have the idea about how to build the house and where to build a particular section of the house in this area. So this can be considered as a class in case of programming. And when we need to fully build this kind of house, we will use object, where we can build the actual house or that blueprint as per the actual blueprint. So this is how the object and classes related. These are the relation between the classes and objects. So here we can see that according to the blueprint, according to the idea defined by the blueprint, in case of programming, you can see according to the idea defined by the class or description defined by the class, the object has been made that description very clear. So this is the basic idea about the classes and objects. So another OOPS concept is the abstraction. So the abstraction is the property of data by which only the essential details are displayed to the user. It means that from the terms itself we can understand that it is hiding something. It means that the non-essential units are not displayed to the user. I have given example as a forms. Forms means we have seen many kind of forms in many applications for registration, login, sign up. In these kind of forms, when we will enter the data or details about our profile that they ask us, and we will provide that data and press the submit button, right? And after pressing submit button, you will get just you are successfully registered, you are successfully logged in. But we cannot see the actual process happening in the back end of that registration form, like when we are entering a data, actually the data is being going through the database and many frameworks configurations, and back end it has been happening actually, and we are not even seeing that. So this is how the technology is. We are using this abstraction, we are making the interaction with the user so easy, so that the IT industry is now on top level by abstraction, because this abstraction is making the purpose of anything that user needs very easy by not even knowing the backend parts. So these are there are many other applications as well when considered in real life. I'm just talking about the example in application level, like web applications, Android applications as well. So this is a major example about the abstraction. Just need to understand is that this abstraction hides the backend process on what we are seeing. Just show what we need. Other things is not essential for that things. So just hide that. That is what abstraction means. So next important feature or core concept of OOPS is that encapsulation. Encapsulation means is defined as the wrapping up of data under a single unit. It means that we have shown about the class and objects earlier, and we have discussed that class and objects are almost related. And classes define the idea using objects, and we have discussed earlier. And we have seen that a class will have a name as well as properties or attributes and behavior or functions. And binding of these properties or attributes with the behavior or functions of that class is the term referred to as encapsulation. That is what we have written here. You can see here. It's a mechanism that binds together code and the data it manipulates. So that the purpose of doing is that by doing so we can make this class accessible to that class only. This can be also made possible by using access specifiers, and access specifiers are mainly used in case of encapsulation for data hiding. Data hiding means what I have told earlier. In this case itself, data hiding means they are binding the data or properties of that class with the function of that class itself, so that it cannot be accessible to another classes. That is where the data hiding is enabled in that particular class. So this is possible only through access specifiers. So what are these access specifiers? Let's see. So these access specifiers are used in programming, Java programming, in order to restrict the access of a particular data members or methods or functions in the class to another class. It is a restriction or it is a limitation between particular classes in a project. So there are three types of access specifiers: public, private, and protected. Public access specifier means it is simply visible to all the other classes. The data inside of one class will be accessible to all the other classes related to that project itself. So it is public, it can be accessed by any classes in that project. So that is why it is known as a public access specifier. So private access specifier is like keeping a privacy. Like when one class has been defined and all the methods and data members or attributes have been made private, so that another class cannot be accessed. Another class cannot have access to that members or methods in order to get the data from that class. So that is why it is known as a private. In order to get the data from that, we can only use getters and setters, and I will discuss about these getters and setters when I start programming with these getters and encapsulation concepts. So for the time being, we can just know what are these access specifiers. So next thing is the final thing of access specifier is protected. So protected access specifier means these kind of access specifiers provided in the class, and this class will be accessible within the class itself, as well as it can be accessible to its subclass too. That is why it is known as a protected. These cases are working when there are two classes, which one is a subclass as well as another is a parent class, and I will discuss about this when I starting inheritance. Next topic is inheritance. I will talk to you about this one again. So inheritance is a mechanism in Java by which one class is allowed to inherit the features. Features means attributes and behaviors, or methods and variables of another class. So this is like simply inheriting the properties of one class to another class. Just one class will be a parent class and another class will be a child class. It means that this class will, the child class will inherit all the properties or can inherit all the properties of base class or parent class. That is the important property using OOPS or in Java. So inheritance, using inheritance, we can improve the code reusability because we can also access the properties of a parent class as well as we can define the new methods or variables inside that child class itself. So that we can just reuse the parent class again and again when it extends that class. So there are two terminologies used in inheritance as I told now. Superclass, subclass. Superclass means the parent class, base class, the class which inherits the properties of that class to its child class or its extending class. That is known as a superclass, whereas subclass or derived class or extended class is a class which extends or inherits the properties from the superclass. This is the basic difference between the superclass and subclass. And in case of programming, this can be implemented using an extends keyword. When a class extends another class, it means that inheritance. In Java, we use extends. When we use extends keyword in Java, it means that Java is using inheritance property. So this is the basic idea about the inheritance. And final, the core concept of OOP or in Java is polymorphism. Polymorphism in Java is a concept by which we can perform a single action in different ways. It means that an object in a Java program can act in different forms as well. That is why it is known as a polymorphism. This concept is known as a polymorphism in OOPS as well as in Java. So we can perform polymorphism in Java by method overloading and method overriding. So these are two operations that basically related to this polymorphism. So that is what it means that method overloading means it is run compile time. A method overloading happens at compile time. So it will be known as a compile time polymorphism, whereas method overriding will done or will take place during the runtime. So it is known as a runtime polymorphism. And I will detailedly discuss about this method overloading and method overriding when I start programming in next week, and we will see more deeply about these things. For time being, just I will give you a brief idea about these things. Method overloading in Java means when in programming we have multiple functions or methods in our program, whereas in case of each multiple methods, these multiple methods will have a same name and the same name with the different properties, so that we can apply this method overloading so that the compiler will not show any error on running this program. That is what method overloading means. Method overriding means mainly happens when there are two classes, subclass and um, parent class. What I have told in protected as well, because protected works in case of when there are two classes, subclass and superclass, as I told earlier. So in this case, polymorphism works by method overloading and method overriding. So in overriding, the superclass and subclass will be there, and the superclass will have a method with the same name, whereas the subclass will also have the method which is provided in superclass. So in case of that, the subclass method, when we call the object in main method, the subclass object will be overriding the superclass. That is why the name has known to be as overriding. The subclass method in subclass will override the method in superclass. So this is the basic meaning or basic idea about the polymorphism, and this is the basic idea about the two major concepts in polymorphism, that is method overloading and method overriding. So I hope you understand the basic concept of OOPS. Overall, I don't think you have understand fully about this OOPS concept. But according to my knowledge, I have provided you the best I can. And also, one of the subscriber asked me to do this video session, so I am doing this according to my best. So if you have any clarification regarding this video, you can comment it in the comment box, or if you have more clarification regarding this video, you can follow me on Instagram page and you can chat with me. I will clear your clarification doubts, and I will clarify your doubts as well. So I hope, I believe I understand what I have taught to you. So see you until next video. Thank you.